Hi, this is Jeremy Schiefling, the founder and chief nerd of Break Into Tech, and I'm here to help you figure out whether you should consider a career in business operations, or BIZOPS for short. Let's start with a pop quiz. So Dan Yu is known as the godfather of BIZOPS since he started one of the Valley's first teams at LinkedIn. Now, any guesses where he went to school? Well, if you guessed Haas, you nailed it. Because Dan did indeed get his start at Haas, which I point out to show that though the BizOps position can sometimes feel a little bit elusive, you're definitely a good company if you choose to pursue it. But what exactly is BizOps? Let's start with a more recent MBA grad to explain. This is my friend Parl, who works on BizOps for LinkedIn's learning business, and she's got a fairly typical profile for the field, an MBA plus some consulting or finance experience. But what's most important for us is why LinkedIn has a BizOps team in the first place. Now, if you've ever used LinkedIn over the years, you know that it's often tried to compel you to do some relatively silly things, like endorse your friends for all these bizarre skills. And the reason for that is the tech industry is largely driven by product managers. So in this case, the product manager for endorsements was so focused on driving up his or her own metrics that he or she resorted to all sorts of hacks just to maximize those numbers. And the problem is that endorsements by themselves are just a local maxima. In other words, they may make the endorsements PM look good, but they don't actually help optimize the overall company. So one big reason LinkedIn has a BizOps team is they take a bigger picture view, stepping back and optimizing for what's best for the whole firm, not just one product area. And the second key driver for BizOps is that unlike a business analyst for a product team, who's only focused on measuring progress towards that local maxima, the BizOps leader measures progress towards what's most important for the entire company across the organization. So by leveling up strategy and evaluation to the firm level, a BizOps team ensures that the whole company succeeds, not just individual product fiefdoms. Okay, so that's why LinkedIn needs a BizOps team. But why should Parl leave McKinsey to come work there? Well, let's think about what consulting is really like. Because as glamorous as that field may seem at first, it's ultimately limited in most cases to making recommendations. And many a consultant is frustrated to see that their best ideas never make it past the slide deck they present at the end of the project. Whereas BizOps provides not just a chance to develop great strategies, but also the chance to actually roll up your sleeves and execute. So for consultants looking to lead transformation through the entire lifecycle, from strategy all the way to execution, BizOps is a rare opportunity. To say nothing of the value of being able to work for a single client and not travel 4 days a week. So that's what's driving BizOps. Now let's talk about what it looks like day to day. The first thing to know about BizOps is that, like any tech role, it's incredibly cross-functional. Instead of working with a bunch of other consultants or other bankers, you actually work with product managers to help him or her tackle tough strategy questions. You collaborate with the finance team to get the best performance data, and then you mentor younger strategists right out of undergrad. Now to see what that all looks like in action, here's a sample project. So going back to Parl at LinkedIn, her learning PMs may be trying to figure out what new verticals to enter. And because this is such a massive question, Parl needs to step back and start with a significant volume of data. For instance, millions of LinkedIn learning searches that ultimately cause the user to bounce because they couldn't find what they were looking for. And by analyzing this data, Parl may notice an interesting trend, that both medical and legal education searches have a high bounce rate. But because she has to make a highly strategic recommendation for the whole company, not just one that makes the product team look good, she puts this data in the context of the firm's larger goals. For instance, if LinkedIn is looking to increase the ROI of its products, she may ultimately recommend the legal vertical since it's less regulated than the medical education space and thus faster and cheaper to enter. And then, once Parl has earned buy-in from her cross-functional partners, she'll actually help to test out this hypothesis with a dashboard to measure initial results against those company goals. So as you can see, BizOps really is an end-to-end role from data analysis all the way to strategy and execution. And BizOps pros are evaluated across that full lifecycle. For instance, while being great at the classic consulting skill set of analysis and executive presence is important, it's not enough by itself. You also need to demonstrate that you can go beyond a cool strategy deck and earn buy-in from your partners. And then, most importantly, can you actually put points on the board using your execution skills to drive killer results? Now, to do all of that, it helps to be fluent with certain tools. Excel and PowerPoint, of course, but more and more, BizOps relies on more advanced data tools like SQL for database querying and Tableau for data visualization. Plus, if you can code in Python, look out world, you'll be unstoppable once you're unleashed on the massive data sets of tech firms. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. Is BizOps for you? To find out, let's think through all the roles hallmarks that we've just discussed. First of all, ask yourself this question. Are you comfortable pushing companies to focus on the big picture, not just individual product fiefdoms? That can be very tough when PMs are the center of the tech universe, but that's what a BizOps pro has to do. Then, can you ultimately push that strategy beyond PowerPoint and into execution in the real world? And to get there, can you work cross-functionally with all these different people across the organization, no matter their function? Plus, do you have experience doing everything from crunching data to pitching executives, all the way to leading change? And finally, do you have strong Excel and PowerPoint skills, as well as perhaps a little knowledge of SQL or Tableau? Now, if you answered yes to most of these questions, chances are you have what it takes to break into BizOps. But to find out for sure, you want to reach out to alumni working in the space, from Dan Yu onwards, and then get them to assess your candidacy, because if someone working in the space sees the potential in you, you can be relatively confident that hiring managers will see that potential too. So good luck out there, learn from alums, learn about the space, and I hope you find an awesome opportunity in the tech world.